guys. So today I'm going to talk about my PCOS story and basically how I found out about it and the course of action that I ended up taking and everything I did through this journey basically. So here we go. I'll start from the very beginning. I got my very first cycle when I was a week away from turning 13. I didn't get one the next month, and so when I told my mom about it, she was like, oh, well, you're still super young and you've had one, so it's probably gonna be like this in the beginning and then it'll regulate itself. So I said, okay, no problem, you know, super young. And basically this went on for the next few years. Fast forward to when I was about 17, and my cycles were always about 3 to 4 months away. So it would take 3 to 4 months and I'd get a cycle, and then another like 2 to 3 to 4 months and then I'd get a cycle. So it was never, that was as far, you know, as regular as it ever got. But at the same time, you know, when I had them, they're pretty normal up until at this point when I'm 17. I had a really heavy, very intense cycle. You know, it was a lot of pain, it was a lot of bleeding, and it was giving me other side effects. I was feeling nauseous and weak, and it started affecting my iron. My iron got very low because I was bleeding so much, and I had a lot of diarrhea that accompanied it with, you know, stomach pains and stuff. And so that lasted about a week, and then 2 weeks went past and I got it all over again. And so at this point my mom was like, okay, I'm gonna take you to the gynecologist. So we went and had my very first appointment, and she really didn't give us any details, and she basically said the only way that we can do anything about this is that if I get put on birth control. And my super conservative mom was like, I don't think so, but the doctor said, you know, it could help other stuff too. Like I had a lot of acne and I was a little bit on the chubbier side. And she said, you know, those things could also be because I'm not having regular cycles. And so this might help. So my mom was like, okay, fine. So I get on birth control and I'm on them for about a couple months. And, you know, as my periods start regulating, I noticed that my appetite has decreased tremendously. And one of the other things that I was considered losing a lot of weight, and so I had lost the weight and my skin started clearing up and I just generally felt very good. So I was on it for about 2 years. And when I was about 19, my mom had said, okay, well, you know, you're done with high school, you haven't started college yet or anything, so let's go to India so you can see your grandma and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, fine. I was due to get my birth control renewed, but I at this point, you know, teenager, I really didn't care, and then it's just like whatever. So I didn't take any with me, so I basically stopped taking them. And in the span of the few months that I was there, I literally gained like 10 pounds, and you know, I had started getting my acne back and stuff. And so what ended up being just a short visit, I ended up staying for 1.5 years because I ended up getting married. So I got married to my husband, and I was living with my in-laws, you know, waiting for his visa, and so I could just come back with him. So at this point, my mother-in-law knows kind of about, you know, my inconsistent cycles and stuff. So she's like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to an herbalist, and, you know, let's see if they can help you out. I said, okay, fine. So we go to this herbalist, and again, he doesn't really go into details about anything. He just said, well, take these medications and, you know, it'll help you regulate your cycles. So at this point, you know, I never thought about getting back on birth control because I had always heard, like, once you start, you know, have been on birth control and stuff, like, it can cause infertility or it can cause a much harder time for people to get pregnant. So that kind of really scared me because at this point I'm so young. I'm a newlywed, you know, the only thing I can think about is starting a family. And even though we weren't really thinking like, okay, we're gonna have a baby right away, it was like, you know, if it happens, it happens. And so basically I started, and I was taking the herbal medicines for about a month or 2 months, and I got my first cycle after like so many months. And after I had that cycle, I did, you know, because I was supposed to continue taking it, I ended up getting pregnant. So it did what it was supposed to do. It not only helped me get a period, but it helped me ovulate, which, you know, I ended up getting pregnant. So fast forward, I have my son, and after I had him, again, I didn't get on birth control because of that whole fear, and we used other methods of birth control, and when my son was about 6 months old, we decided, okay, we already have one, and let's keep him close in age, and let's have another one. So we decided to start trying, but we weren't like actively trying. It was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we'll see. And that's what we did. And 3 years went by. I want to say 2 years went by after this point, 2 to 3 years. I can't remember clearly. And I remember my son was about he was about 3. He had just turned 3. And that's when I was like, okay, well, like, we've been trying since he was 6 months old and things happen. At this point, I'm kind of like thinking, you know, is it gonna happen? And I was thinking that the first time it happened so easily was because I was so much younger and I was so much smaller, because after my first son, I never was able to lose the weight that I had gained with him. So at this point, I'm like 30 pounds heavier. I am older. So whatever the issue is made it worse because I wasn't getting pregnant on my own. So we had decided, I had just got done cosmetology school. We decided that we were going to go ahead and take a trip to India so my son could meet his family and stuff. So we go to India, and I had looked up this clinic, and I decided to go ahead and go over there. So I went over there and I talked to them and I said, you know, I've been trying for about 3 years and I haven't had any success and I just really want to have a baby. And they said, okay, no problem, you know, we can do a round of a treatment. And basically, I don't really know all the details because I never did much research at the earlier times about anything. I just kind of put all my hope in the doctors, and you know, I tell them what the issue is and they're gonna fix it, basically. So they gave me some medications that I was supposed to take. I don't remember, I don't think I did any shots at this point. I think I was just taking medicines, and I was going regularly to get ultrasounds to see if the follicles were growing, if they were maturing. And so then they told me, okay, well, your follicles are ready, you're going to ovulate, so go do your thing and then come back in a week or two, come back in about, I think 10 days it was, or 2 weeks, and we'll see if it worked. So that's what we did, and it failed. So we didn't get pregnant, it didn't happen, and it was time for me to head back to the US anyways. And I came back and I started a job, and I think another 6 months went by, and that's when I was like, I had to get an annual exam done anyways. My pap smear done. So my mom had a doctor, and his wife had just got her gynecology license, or her, you know, she had started at his clinic. And my mom was like, okay, why don't you just go to her? I said, okay, fine. So I went to her, and I told her everything about everything, and she said, okay, well, let me run some tests. So she runs some tests and stuff, and then she comes back and says, you have PCOS. And this is the first time that I heard about this. Up until now, nobody, you know, told me this is what you have. It was always like, oh, no worries, we'll fix it, without really saying, okay, this is what it is. And it just blows my mind that it took that long. But either way, so I will always be so grateful to this doctor, because she finally told me, here's the issue. This is what it is. So I didn't know anything about PCOS. I had never heard of it before. I had no idea. So I was like, what is this? You know, I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to, so I kind of didn't understand it in the beginning. And it took me quite a while to kind of like process everything and kind of like realize what it was. So she told me that I could either get on birth control, and that's what's gonna help, or I could do metformin. Since I was trying for a baby, she recommended I do metformin. So she prescribed me the metformin. I didn't get pregnant. Nothing happened for another year. So at this point, my son is 5. Okay, so got a couple of weddings coming up in India, and I thought, okay, perfect time. I have a ton of family there. My parents were there, my in-laws are there, and also the medical in India is super, super cheap and just as effective. And I heard about this clinic that my sister-in-law had told me about, and there was like a ton of success rate over there. So I was very excited to meet with the doctor over there. So I went, and right before I jumped into the wedding festivities, I went to the doctor. She's amazing. Long story short, I said, I'm only here for a month. I've been trying to get pregnant for the last 4.5 years. I have PCOS. time's a ticking. So I was like, I really want to get pregnant. I really want the second baby. And I know over here it works where you do a couple of rounds of fertility treatment, and if that doesn't work, you do IUI. And if that doesn't work, then like your last, action is IVF. But I told her, I said, I'm only here for a month. I don't know when I'll be able to come back. So can we just cut to the chase and go straight to IVF? And of course she said yes, because it's money. It's more money, basically. So she said yeah, and I said, okay, great. So this was December of 2012, so January of 2013, like the very beginning, the weddings were over. I had started the treatment, and basically on the 16th of January, I had my transfer done, and 18th of January is my flight back to the US. And then I think January 27th, I went on ahead and tested, and it tested positive. And I will make more future videos going into more details about my pregnancies with each of my children. And but September 2013 of that year, I had my second son. So we had a successful IVF. Moving forward, after this, I took my PCOS and I took it very seriously. So at this point, I'm much older. I have my second beautiful baby, and I know that I'm not done. I'm gonna want another one, but I also knew that I need to learn. And at this point, I have, gained so much knowledge about PCOS and everything. So I took this very seriously, and I started on a very healthy lifestyle. I started working out very regularly. I started eating very healthy, and I started, when he was 6 months old, I had gone back to my original gynecologist from the United States, and I went back on metformin, and this time was very, very good with it. So I started when he was about 6 months old, and when he was about a year old is when I ended up getting my first cycle. So I had gone back to my doctor, and I said, I want to go ahead and try for another baby, and can we try Clomid? And she said that she agreed that it would be the best course of action, and we could totally try that. And so I did a round of Clomid, about 50 milligrams that cycle, and we did end up getting pregnant. Unfortunately, that ended up being a blighted ovum, and we miscarried, and I will make another video about that as well. My doctor said that my next cycle I can try again. My next cycle didn't come until March, so at this point from September is when I had my original cycle that led to the miscarriage. It's been 6 months, so I'm ready to try again. So this time we did 100 milligrams, and we got pregnant, and I had my beautiful baby girl from that. So moving on, I now have my 3 kids, and I'm very unsure of what I wanted to do. So I knew, that possibly she is my last, and that I might not want any more after this, because, I've got my 2 boys, I got my little girl, like, it's good, and I had success so far. So I said, we'll see about if we want a fourth or not, but for now, I decided to go ahead and go on the mini pill, and I did the mini pill because I was nursing her, and unfortunately I think I already had a little bit of postpartum depression, and that kind of just really made it worse. And I did take it for a few months, and I realized that, I was very deep in my postpartum depression, so I ended up, I stopped taking it basically. So, and I said, I have PCOS anyways. I've had to have encouragement to get pregnant all 3 times. I don't think I'm gonna get pregnant on my own anyways. So I stopped taking the mini pill, but I'm continuing to take metformin. Okay, my daughter totally dropped the camera, so I'm just gonna finish it off like this, because she's just gonna keep dropping it. But I am hoping to eventually wean off of metformin so that I don't need it anymore, and hopefully I can just keep my PCOS under control through a much healthier lifestyle. And that's, I'm hoping, something I can also do on my YouTube channel, is take you on a weight loss journey. I am really dedicated, and I'm really wanting to lose the weight that I had kept on from my first pregnancy. And I will go ahead and make separate videos about going into more details about, my individual pregnancies, as well as, my IVF journey and my Clomid journey, and all of that. So please look forward to those. Subscribe if you are interested and about my life and just my journey through IVF, infertility, and PCOS and everything. So subscribe, like this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.